Today I'm joined by Jessica Zelinka. Jessica is double Olympian, double Olympic finalist 2008 and 2012, silver medalist at the Commonwealth Games in 2010 and 2014, gold medalist at the Pan Am Games in 2007. Jessica has moved on from her athletic career and is now a coach and mentor. And what I found interesting, Jessica, is I saw you said you want to find innovative ways to address unmet needs in the world of sport, health, and well-being. What do you see as these unmet needs?
Great question. I felt that, now that I'm a few years out from being retired, I can kind of look back at my career a bit more clearly and see really the journey I had and the structure, the sporting system, and everything I was involved with. I can kind of step back from that and see now as a coach, when I speak to athletes, young athletes and parents and coaches even, there's really seems to be a lack of resources for these people involved as part of the support team of the children or the kids, that young athletes, to know how to support them emotionally and mentally and even physically, right? So the big thing in Canada is hockey, and already I've been pulled into that sport because there really seems to be a need for parents to know how to support the kids in such an intense sport at such a young age. And it's really mind-boggling, the different cultures in all the different sports, whereas in track and field, it's individual. It depends on what coach you had, if you're lucky or unlucky. I had great coaches throughout my career from a young age, but I still had to make decisions towards what I wanted. So to answer your question, I think a part of it is the gap of leadership from athletes nowadays to take those steps, the action steps towards what they really truly want out of their experience in sport, whereas they're getting all these messages left and right from anything, even to social media and what their peers are doing. And I think there has been a bit of disconnect towards their alignment of what they want out of a sport. And then you hear tons of stories about regret or unfulfillment or quitting too early. There's tons of athletes that quit early in sport because it just wasn't the experience they expected. So yeah, I'm trying to hear more and talk to more people in these experiences and really understand what's missing.
It's interesting. Actually, today I was at I don't think it was a congress, but it was kind of a get-together of professors who are specialized in long-term athlete development. Mm-hmm. And the theme was the same, that kids growing up now tend to have much more pressure to perform, drop out early. What else was it? Yeah, I think it was also self-image. So that was the recurring theme throughout the congress, whatever it was. So yeah. Yeah,
and another thing too, which I found I didn't really think of, is the fear of failure. And a part of that, it could be because of social media and whatnot and all the expectations, but to show that you're weak or vulnerable, even for superstar athletes, the fear of failure is huge nowadays, because they don't want to show that side or show that they aren't perfect or whatnot. Like, whereas in my days, you'd go to a local track meet and you'd have a bad day and you'd do really poorly, whatnot, and brush it off, whatever, no big deal. It's part of the process. And nowadays, just like with everyone so micromanaging the athletes' performances, it almost doesn't give them the space to fail, which is crucial, as we will be talking about today.
I guess so. So for those who are not familiar, you competed in track and field and primarily heptathlon. Can you explain in a few words what a heptathlon is? And why is it such a difficult discipline?
Okay, yeah. Heptathlon is the equivalent of the men's decathlon. Men do 10, we do 7, and it's over 2 days, always in the same order. 100-meter hurdles, high jump, shot put, 200 meters. The next day starts with long jump, javelin, 800 meters. And what I actually love about it is because I didn't have to specialize. I loved all the events from when I was young. I had an aunt who is a bit of a mentor of mine, and she always said, don't just do your best events, continue to work on all of them if you really enjoy doing them all. So that was great advice at a young age, to just continue to not just focus on my best events. And even though I knew I could win in maybe the hurdles, I would do javelin or shot put at the provincial championships. What's difficult about the event, is that it always challenges you, because you can never, because you spread yourself out over 7 events, you can never really attain, I think in any sport anyways, but there's always room for improvement. There's always, you will never perfect an event. So there's always that challenge of, I wonder how much better I can get at this. And I wonder, that at a young age, that's what drew me to track and field, was like, everything is measured in time or increments and whatnot. And I always wanted to see how much better I could get. Right. So I was able to do that through my very, very long career, to still have that like sense of curiosity and excitement of, I wonder how far I can go in this event.
And I also think, because it must be a balancing act between, there's just a limit of hours you can train in a week, right? So if you have to train for so many so many different disciplines, that's also challenging in the sense of programming and planning.
Yeah, for the coach. But in general, unlike, say, triathlon, which is biking, swimming, and running, there's so much volume, and you can only do so much volume where you need to kind of recover. Whereas in heptathlon, most of the events are speed and power. So you can only do so much. So it's just a matter of hitting each event a couple times a week, getting really focused when it's time to throw, you know what you're there for, you know what your intentions are for that training session. You build on each training session, and then you're done. You shut it down, right? It's not about volume. So it's different in that way, that we don't really train all day long. It's very typical athlete program. It's just designed, you need good intention and high quality training sessions.
And if you look back at your athletic career, what was your darkest moment?
Yeah, the good thing about my career is very long. So just like humans, the older you are, the more baggage you have, right? So I had many dark moments throughout different points in my career. And, as you progress, the moments that may have been dark earlier in your career didn't affect me in the same way, right? So there's a bit of perspective on that. And like, my first very dark moment is when I wasn't chosen for the 2004 Athens Games, my first chance to compete for Canada. And, I was too young or inexperienced to go. That almost took me out of the sport. Very dark moment. But then when I look back at it now, maybe coming back from having a baby, that wasn't having a baby and all that wasn't the dark moment, but losing that sense of, I just had a personal best at my first Olympic Games in Beijing. I got pregnant unexpectedly. I felt lost. I felt very alone. I knew no one that had come back from a pregnancy at that time. Now it's definitely more common. I was really scared about, I just didn't have any guidance and anyone I felt very alone, but I also felt very supported. So the first missing Athens actually made me, like I was talking about, take more leadership in what I wanted, what I was going to prioritize in my life. If I really wanted to go to games, what can I do next time to make sure I'm there, right? And then the second time was having a baby with my fiance. Was like, okay, I can no longer take total control or try to control everything. I need to now reach out and get help and accept help. So again, a learning lesson. I think every dark moment brings a learning lesson that the athlete needs in that moment in their life. And then my third, I would say a very dark moment was, so I competed at Beijing in 2008. I competed in 2012, which was a huge breakthrough for me, especially after having a baby. And I was trying to go for 2016. And the year before, at that point, I was kind of training on my own. I didn't have a coach. My coach was in Kansas. I was kind of long distance coaching, which isn't ideal. I was training on my own. I was living in a city in Montreal where I knew the language to some extent, but I didn't feel at home, even though Montreal is a beautiful city. And I was going through a hard time in my relationship in my family, in my relationship with my husband, I felt guilty for training and focusing on my own needs still. When he was also an Olympic athlete in water polo, and he decided probably a year after we had a baby to quit water polo, and I was still going on. So in that point in my career, there was a lot of inner conflict of, why am I doing this? Am I being selfish? And it really tore me apart physically, mentally, emotionally, but to the point where it actually showed up physically. I was getting rashes. I gave myself asthma for the first time in my life. I went to the sports doctor, and they gave me depression pills and sleeping pills. And I think what the takeaway from that experience was, I need to understand my why. Right? I need to know why I'm doing this. And because it's not good enough to just do it because that's what I'm used to. That's what I'm expected to do. So I tried to, for my last year, 2016, I really tried to find my why and to take back control in a way that I'm not going to take these depression pills. I'm not going to take sleeping pills. I'm going to focus on other things first. So meditation, breathing, my inner thoughts, right? And to being kinder to myself, I have the support, and I have only one more year left. So to really enjoy the journey. So that's how I came out of that year. It was like, I have zero funding, zero support from the federation. I couldn't get any injury card. I had Achilles tendinopathy. I had ankle surgery that year. And I was like, you know what? My last year, I'm just going to enjoy the journey and give this gift to myself and those who have supported me.
Yeah. Thanks for the open words. That was 2015, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what happened to the qualification?
Well, what happened was, I think it was too little too late. And I came back from the surgery of my ankle that took a lot longer than I thought. In retrospect, I probably wouldn't have gotten that done the year of the Olympic trials. And our family moved back to Calgary so I could work with a coach. Yet my relationship was still not stable. So again, a little bit of guilt around that and whatnot. It was great to be around my normal support team in Calgary again. And the whole mindset shift of enjoy the journey was really good. It really, really helped until I realized that my goal was to get the standard on my first competition in Götzitz, Austria in the spring. And I didn't. And I was like, you know what? That's okay. I have another meet. I'll do it. Right. And it ended up, I was bouncing from heptathlon to heptathlon, trying to get the standard. So the exact opposite of enjoying the journey, right? And letting go of the outcome, the opposite. And then I felt a lot of anger came up in me. And I was like, why am I jumping through hoops? And then if I didn't get injured last year, I would have blah, blah, blah. And a little desperateness too. I'd literally not finished the second day of a heptathlon, go online, find my next one, book my flight, and be there the next week. Right? It was awful. It was an awful way to end my career. And but you learn from these things.
Okay. So how did you, it's what sparked my interest is you said the emotional hoops. So how did you get through that? How did you recover from the ups and downs, or how did you get more stability emotionally?
In 2016 or after?
Both.
Yeah. I guess I kept on going back to my why for that year, going back to, okay, enjoy the journey. What am I grateful for? And I was really excited to get up and to go to my coach every day and train. I really enjoyed that, to have my support of my family, and to even have my daughter be able to watch me, even not at my best, to see both sides of the world of struggling, but then getting up again and trying again and whatnot, it was very vulnerable time for me. But I wanted to do it anyways. I wanted to go for it anyways. I didn't want to regret not at least trying, even if I failed. So I guess just bringing it back to the larger picture is I know what's at stake here. This is my choice in doing this. And if it doesn't turn out, at least I won't have any regrets in not trying.
Okay, cool. What was your best moment? I just wanted to get you in a better mood. So let's talk about the best moment. You talked about the dark moment for so long.
See, the best moments were, I had a long career. I was really fortunate to have a longer career. And I think a part of it is because these best moments came up when they were unexpected, right? It wasn't just like at the Olympics or when I got a huge breakthrough. I had moments in training. I had moments speaking to another athlete, moments where I, reminded me of why I'm doing what I'm doing. Early in my career, my first competition, international competition, was World Juniors in Chile. And I had a really good competition. I got personal best, but I was still disappointed because I came 5th and I knew I could have done better, right? But I did what I was expected of and then some. I got the Canadian record. But the moment I want to talk about is when I was leaving the track, everything was done. And I was like in my head, very much in my head, just looking at my feet, walking back to the warm-up track and just be like, I'm going to do better next time. I can do better. I can do better. I want to do better. And then this little girl was at the entrance gate of the warm-up track. And I remember kind of seeing her all week during the warm-ups and whatnot. And I finally looked at her. I looked at her in the eyes. And even just remembering this moment, is still, it gets me emotional because she was a little Chilean girl. She couldn't have been more than, I say 5. I think she was even younger than 5. And she was there all week by herself. Sometimes her friends or siblings would come. And I looked at her and she just kind of can I have an autograph, right? And I was like, wow. So I took off my singlet and I had my number on it still. And I signed my number and I gave her my Canada singlet. And the look in her eyes was amazing. It gave me goosebumps. I was like, this is why I'm doing this. This is what it's all about, right? So I had that experience at a young age, right? Before my career kind of took off. And I always remember that moment. And, there was other moments in my career where the same thing, it's like when I connected to something bigger than myself and my own needs and my own desires, that reminded me of why I'm doing this. And it could have been right before the 800 meters and at the Olympics, right? Where I'm all consumed with, I got to do well. Yet I don't want to be here because this is going to be painful. Yet I should be grateful because I'm at the Olympics. Yet there's 100,000 people watching right now. And just the moment where I look up and I see the Canada flag in the rafters way up high, where I didn't notice for the whole 2 days of competition. And I just connect at something that just clears your mind and just feels like, oh, okay, that's why I'm here. And you feel grounded again and you feel supported and you feel immense amount of gratitude in this opportunity. And those are the times where, I was able to compete at my best, compete in flow, let things go, let go of the outcome and needing to get anything out of it. I already had everything I needed in that moment. So there were more personal moments like that versus when I won Canadian trials in the hurdles when I wasn't, to qualify for the 100-meter hurdles at 2012. Obviously that was a crazy moment and a big breakthrough for me, but it was more of those moments of connection that no one could really know what was happening, but I felt immense meaning in what I was doing is those amazing moments. Yeah.
Okay. And it seemed like these moments of connection, they came by chance. Were you later able to reproduce them deliberately?
Well, I guess that's what I was trying to do in 2016 with that whole joy aspect of okay, larger picture, why am I doing this? It's not about the outcomes. And I wasn't successful. Maybe I just didn't give enough chance, but I think I think to have these moments, there needs to be some kind of position where you are feeling absolutely almost helpless. Like for me, I'm a Virgo. Okay. I'm a Virgo. I don't know if you know astrology, but just like perfectionist, wanting to control things and whatnot. So for me personally, it's going to be different for anyone else. For me, it was about letting go. And the only way to get me to let go was to be so overwhelmed with like a challenge or fear that was my only option. And that's when these moments came, right? Of doubt or fear or just like a sense of helplessness. And that's when I finally just let go, and it opened me to this larger connection.
Cool. Okay, so if you could go back in time, let's say 10, 15, or even 20 years, what advice would you give a younger Jessica?
I think maybe just to build a bit on that whole control aspect. I know I took a lot of pride in my habits around training and being an athlete. I was very disciplined. I always had a journal. I always did my own research around other things besides just training and technical. You know, I focused on recovery stuff, diet stuff. For me, it was about personal growth, and that if I grow as a human being, my results will get better. It was always about, like, I always wanted to improve in track. That was my number one goal. Don't get me wrong. But I knew if I was better here in life, it will help my results. So I took pride in that. And I think what now I would tell myself is, you know, maybe step back a bit and enjoy the journey without need to try to control every detail. And what I mean by that is when something's not going well in training, say it's even over 2 months, or if I get an injury, you know, I had tons of injuries throughout my career, or I didn't get to compete at an event that I had qualified for, but I got injured, you know, big missed opportunities, to kind of just have more faith that I will get there. The whole faith aspect, right? I just wanted to control everything and make sure I did everything for no regret, that I didn't really allow myself to really have that faith. And a lot of people in my career, like my family and my coach, were the ones that would remind me, like, Jess, there's nothing to worry about. You know, I believe that you will get there again, right? And that was huge for me. But in a way, I was like, why can't I give that to myself, right? And then I go back to the drawing board and write down like 100 things I need to do differently and do better, and how I'm going to do it, what's my strategy, my routine, which was good. It got me taking action and feeling like I had control over things. But just having that like deep down faith that I was going to be okay no matter what, and just kind of let go a bit throughout the career, I think that would have been, I would have enjoyed it a bit more.
Okay. And you say once you made progress on the personal growth side, it improved your athletics, right?
Yes.
Do you also think it works the other way around? So once you improved your athletics, that also helped the personal growth? Is it a cycle, or is it just one way? Interesting.
No, I don't think so. Okay. Because it should work that way though. And that's what I'm trying to figure out now that I'm not doing sport. How do I take those tools that I learned through sport and apply them as a high performer in life, right? It should work that way. And but I think in the athlete world, it depends on the personality of the athlete. But when you get successful in your sport, sometimes you don't go to the drawing board so much, and you don't reflect as much, and you don't like see how you can improve in other things in your life that can contribute to more success on the track. So actually, for me, having success made my personal life worse. And I lost focus on the other goals I had in my life because I was holding on to that success. I was like, okay, well, I made it here, so let's just hold on to this as much as possible and not worry about the other things. So it just depends on the awareness of the athlete. And I think the combination is amazing if you can do it and not get distracted by success, you know?
Okay, cool. I've written down a note here. You mentioned before you became a mom after the Beijing Olympics, right? 2009, and you made your comeback.
Yeah.
What kept you going instead of saying, I put my spikes on the nail?
I didn't expect to be in that situation. And for me, it wasn't like, okay, I'm going to plan a baby and then come back to extend my career, which some athletes are doing now. For me, I wasn't done in track. So I kind of made up my own rules and like, well, if my husband's willing to support me, then I'm going to go back. So it didn't even cross my mind to actually stop track. In that this baby was coming and I was going to do both. And she was going to be on the journey with us. And it was going to be, we were going to make up our own rules along the way.
Okay.
And yeah, it was there was a very exciting time actually. And it allowed me to also, whereas before, like I was saying, like I was very caught up in every detail of my training. When I became a mom, it gave me more freedom to create more space between my track life and my real life. In that when I went to the track, I was ready to go. Like, I was like, wow, this is like free time, mom time on my own. I get to be with someone, a coach who's like giving me all their attention and support to achieve my goals. So I would be so happy to come to training. I'd be so focused. My coach said, like, I've never seen you so focused and relaxed too. It wasn't just like intensity. I was just like so grateful to be there. And then when I left the track, I'd go home and focus on my daughter, which gave me that like freedom to not think about what went wrong in training or what I can do better and how I'm going to show up tomorrow better, right? I was literally taking it day by day in those times because it was a big balancing act. But it was neat. It was a neat dynamic to have as an athlete, and that, I'm off the track, time to leave that alone, time to focus on home. And it was kind of refreshing in a way.
I believe that.